All right. So good morning. This is the topic I chose for myself because I was asked to talk about both the challenges and the opportunities that COVID has made available to us all in plenty, and also about Zoho, the company that I am part of for the past 20 years. In fact, this very building is where our headquarters used to be until COVID hit us all. And this is interestingly just 150 meters away from the SRM University campus in Chennai. Some of you might be knowing it. It's in Potteri. But interestingly, COVID has made remote offices possible. Once upon a time, working from home was just a luxury or probably a once in a while, I am unwell, may I work from home thing. And today, it has turned the tables. It has made the companies that have already put in processes in place and made remote working possible for their employees, even during peacetime, it has made those companies actually thrive in wartime. This is the way I see the game unfolding. Whenever I watch a movie, there is this clear difference between a black and white movie and a color movie. Something that was before color came in and something that was after color came in. When I open a book, I don't just like that fall for the title. Because if the title is like How to Win Friends and Influence People, I check if it is before Facebook or after Facebook, because that's an important trend-setting moment. It was a milestone moment. If it is after Facebook, then that book will talk to you about how to use Facebook, how to exploit its features to get through and to win friends and influence people. Otherwise, even if it is by the world's best author in the subject, he's going to sound outmoded. Take a look at the mobile phone, for example. This used to be looking very, very good once upon a time. But when the mobile phones started talking about flat interfaces and interfaces without any particular, I will have to mute.
There.
Yeah, thank you. I muted all members again. So when you look at mobile phone interfaces, there was this epochal moment, the before and the after. This is how mobile interfaces look. Until these interfaces came, you thought that looked good. And today, when this is the norm, that looks so outmoded. That is the moment I'm talking about. It is almost as if it is a BC and an AD. We're not talking about Jesus Christ here. We're talking about before Corona and after disease. It's not continuous. It is such a discontinuous change. We thought we could prepare for it. We were hearing about it. It's coming in Wuhan. It's coming to India. It is ravaging Italy. It is numbers are going up in Spain. And we just kept banging vessels and doing fire puja and thought everything was going to be fine. Even though experts told us, even though we knew things won't go linearly, things will go exponentially, none of us were really prepared for this trend-setting moment, this phase change moment. In fact, many of the things that I'm going to talk to you today, when you compare it, when you place it in the perspective of the before Corona and after disease moment, you will realize that we have been preparing, and if only we pick the right lessons and apply it into the future, we can actually handle it quite well. Take the television, for example. It was invented in the 1930s, I think, and the technology was in place. The cathode ray tube was in place. The facility to have every house connected with a television tower, everything was in place. But why did it take so long? It took 30 plus years after the invention of the television for the television to actually catch up and come to every household. The reason? Television was waiting for its media moment where everybody could watch um, serials on television, something that made it common and mainstream. The internet was like this. For nearly 40 years, it languished like this. In the 1960s, it was already there. But nobody wanted it except scientists and people working in research organizations in the military. People didn't bother that computers could talk to each other. We were waiting again for that explosive moment when a browser, an interesting web browser, where visual graphics and animations could make the internet meaningful for common man. The same thing happened with video conferencing. We think Zoom and Google Meet and all these new products are latest inventions. Did you know that video conferencing was a ready technology already in the 1970s? In MIT Media Lab, video conferencing was called talking heads. It was already there in place. But it waited. It had to look for a moment like COVID when a luxury, a nice to have facility became suddenly a must have facility. I gotta have this to survive kind of need. Again, with vaccinations, just Google for vaccines and the first links will not be about the benefits of vaccines. It will be about the threats that vaccines pose. Autism because of vaccines, they will say. Stunted growth because of poor vaccination, they will say. Vaccines, double-edged sword, they will say. But today, vaccines have taken on godlike sacredness. People are looking, it's the holy grail. Businessmen are looking at vaccines. Bill Gates is looking at vaccines. How can we get that vaccine and spread it to enough number of people so that we can create a herd immunity against this COVID virus? Today is the vaccines moment. Even though vaccine has been around for 50, 60, 70 years, people were not vaccinated for everything all the time. But today, you will get a sunrise moment for it. What am I trying to hint at? What am I getting at? I'm getting at this curve. This curve is the quality of life on the x-axis and effort on the y-axis. And forever, humankind is stuck in that dirty, brown, muddy water on the left. We know right there is this beautiful green oasis. If only we make that climb over the top of the hill, we will be able to get to the oasis. But simply because of that huge effort involved to go over the hump, so many amazing ideas die in their infancy. Simply because the effort involved is so much more. There are colleges which still use paper, which still use old mainframes in their computer labs. Why? Aren't digital technologies more powerful, faster, easier? Yes, but digitization is harder. Digitization is an effort that is harder than the benefits that digitization gives me. So we keep postponing it until probably when there is no other go, you give up, you give in and move. What COVID does, what COVID-like things do is they flatten the curve. They make the silly, the crazy, the impossible, the ridiculous, they make all these acceptable. Long ago, 350 million years ago, there was one moment biologists might know about it. They called it the Cambrian explosion. The Cambrian explosion refers to that point in time, again, like the BC AD moment, before which there were very few unicellular organisms floating around in the rich nutrient sea. Nothing interesting. A biologist wouldn't have had a career at that time. But in the 349th millionth year, suddenly something changed. There was more oxygen in the atmosphere, they say. And a huge variety of explosive number of different organisms were born. were evolved. It was not a gradual evolution. It was a Cambrian explosion, they say. What I'm trying to ring home here is, yes, COVID is keeping us locked down. COVID is depriving us of all our beautiful distractions in life. COVID is depriving us of our exams and our classrooms and our career paths. But look at this as an opportunity. Look at this as the Cambrian explosion moment, the time when you can actually talk nonsense and you might still be heard. Because today is the time where ridiculous, crazy, funny, silly is not really so. Because people are looking for ideas. I need to deliver this package to that person. This contains pizza. How do I deliver in a touchless manner? I have a bus. The bus has to take people from one place to the other. How do I ensure social distancing inside a bus? I have a lift. The elevator takes people from one floor to the 20th, 30th floor. How do I let people select the floor they have to go to without touching? I have a college. It is a 150-year-old college. How do I get students to continue from where they are, but still give them the feel that they are part of that social gathering, that virtual community? How do I teach them that? Every one of these requires interesting ideas. Might be silly, might be funny, might be ridiculous, might be crazy, but realize this is the moment of the Cambrian explosion, and your idea might well be the one that changes the world. With that positive note, that encouraging note, I would like to move into a quick run through of what Zoho is and what we do. We've been around 22 years. We have around 45 different applications. They are all applications on the cloud that enable, that empower individuals, small groups of people, teams, large companies, enterprises to move their business online. All you need is a browser or a data-empowered mobile phone. If you have that, you can run your business, monitor your income, file your taxes, convert your leads into prospects, into customers, work on your projects, share digital documents like I am doing right now. All of these from the ease of wherever you are, whatever else you're doing on a mobile phone or a laptop. We call this SaaS services, software as a service. You might have surely heard of this acronym. We are around in 190 plus countries. 50 million users use our products day to day. Some are individuals, many are partners and small companies. That's our sweet spot. And a lot of large enterprises are waking up to the benefits of a SaaS-based software suite. Around 9,000 employees work in our organization today. Until COVID, they were all working in our Chennai office, the building that you see there, and another in Tenkasi, which is further south in South India, in Tamil Nadu. It's a connected ecosystem of apps. It's not about what one app can do. It's about what the 50 apps that we have built, how they share information, how they talk to each other, how they provide an ecosystem, something that it's like a wolf pack. You must have seen lions hunting or wolves hunting. They hunt in packs. What one cannot do, 2, 3 can combine and deliver in a much better manner. It's a holistic approach to software. In fact, one of our best-selling software products from all the ones that you see there is called Zoho One, because we thought instead of actually calling that a 50 plus suite of software tools, what we are doing is we are calling it Zoho One. It's a single piece of software with 50 different features. That is how beautifully integrated they all have become. We work with government agencies and we help startups. In fact, so many college students these days, by the 3rd year, by the 4th year, start coming up with ideas. And tools like Zoho can really help them because it helps them dissociate themselves with the day-to-day headaches of managing projects and finding what tool to use for email and what tool to use for chat and how will the chat tool work with the emailing tool and what compliance that I need to work with, and all these things are taken care of when you work with a company like Zoho. That's our global footprint. We have data centers in almost every continent out there, and we have small and large offices in those places too. That's how fast we are growing. These numbers aren't corrected for COVID. In some places, we are actually doing better than expected thanks to COVID, because COVID allows you to take a hard look at what your business is doing. And so many local businesses have decided to go global. So many terrestrial businesses have decided to take their day-to-day operations up to the cloud, and Zoho is there waiting to help you. But enough about the company. I want to give you probably an unusual, unique perspective to what sort of company this is. Seth Godin, one of my favorite authors, has written a book called Purple Cow. It's about how you can transform your business by being remarkable, by being unusual, by standing out. He actually tells why he named it the purple cow. And that's the explanation he gives. He says, cows, after you have seen 1 or 2 or 10 of them, they're boring. If you're driving on a highway and you look to the left and there's a green pasture and there's a meadow and there are cows grazing, you wouldn't look at them again. You wouldn't stop. You would just continue. On the other hand, if there is a purple cow, that would be something, wouldn't it? You'll probably stop. You'll probably get out of the car. You will want a selfie. You will want to go find the little cottage in the back of the meadow and check what color is the milk given by this cow. Does this have a calf? Can I buy this? You will be interested. Unusual attracts. You don't see these every day. So I want to make a case for why I call Zoho the purple cow of business software. Let me start. When it comes to companies, if you actually Google for the Marcom 5000 or the Marcom 500, the various companies that work in marketing and communication and technology is actually split up in a very large printable sheet like this. Each of those things, when you zoom in, there are logos of those various organizations. Most of them are Silicon Valley startups. Some are very old, some are young. Most of them are young. The point that I'm trying to make here is this document changes every year. Why would a company, a list of companies change every year? The top 5,000 companies, yes, there can be a new one that comes in, but why should this document have a 60 to 70% churn rate every year? There are very few companies that fall into the you don't see these everyday category. How do you stand out? You stand out by actually being fundamentally different. You can't be one among 5,000 like that and hope to stand out unless you change your DNA. We call ourselves a unique company. We are bootstrapped. These days, whenever you are a startup, when you're pitching, among the first things you do is, how can I attract venture capital? How can I woo an angel investor? How can I make it sexy? How can I make it interesting? We watch Silicon Valley, the TV serial, and all they talk about is going for a pitch and winning that pitch. Why should it be always that way? Why can't you use your own money and bootstrap yourself? Look at SRM as an organization. How did it start? Did it attract venture capital? Or was it by the hard work, that by dint of hard work and slow growth, that it has reached where it is now? Bootstrapping is the ability for you to pick yourself up by your own shoelaces. That's magical if you're able to do that. We've always been private. We have had many companies who approached us and said, we would like to acquire you. In fact, Salesforce tried to acquire us. We said, no, we have a long-term vision and we would like to remain private for that vision to be fructified. Many companies approached us and said, acquire us. We have interesting technology. We would like to work with you. We would like to become part of you. We said no, because as we will see a little later in this presentation, you will notice that unless you build technology in a homogeneous manner, where every one of the products that you add on is part of the existing family, if you bring somebody from somewhere else completely outside, there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of mismanagement, and things stand out oddly. We are a long-term company. In fact, what I mean by long-term is this. If you look at the Standard and Poor Index, which is basically an index of the the companies doing really well, so well that they are in the top 500, you will notice that over the years from 1960 to 2020, the number has been dropping. What is the number on the y-axis? The average company lifespan. More and more companies are younger and younger. Is that a good trend? There is no value for heritage. Can you trust all your data on a company that was born 2 years ago? Did it withstand the tsunami? Did it withstand the dot-com bubble? Did it withstand the Great Depression of the 2008, the housing bubble? If you didn't even know what those were, you were so young, how can we trust you with all the data? So we are looking for somebody who has been there, done that. Unfortunately, this chart is not showing that. People are not any longer giving an importance to long term. In fact, one of the slides in a slide template for your pitch deck, they call it the pitch deck. If you're a startup aspirant, they give you a slide template. You have to stand in front of 10 venture capitalists and you need to make your pitch. They give you a template. Fill in information based on this template, they say. You know what the last slide is? The last slide is your exit strategy. Okay, you're entering this business, you are having great plans, you want to make a lot of money, you want to give the venture capitalist an opportunity to invest and reap a harvest, all that is fine. What is your exit strategy? When are you planning to sell out? Are you planning to get acquired? Are you planning to, they want to know that. Our CEO, Sridhar Vembu is his name. Interestingly, his exit strategy, he says, is death. I will leave this company when I leave this world. I am here for the long run. I am here for the marathon. When you hear a person like him talking, it sounds incongruous. It is unusual. It is not the startup pitch talk. It's a person's talk who has a long-term vision. He wants to grow with you. He wants to work with you. He wants to multiply his success based on your success as a company. We are not a unicorn company. This word has been misused too often. In fact, we are happy to be the dark horse, the horse that is actually the underdog, so to speak. Nobody bets on us, but we still win. That's the angle we would like to take. We are culture-centric. Culture is to a company what I would say character is to an individual. It's not something that can be taught. It's not something that can be read from a mission statement or a document. It has to be absorbed by interacting with like-minded people, by having one core set of values and ethics and interpreting those every time we are faced with a dilemma, interpreting that dilemma using those core set of values and ethics. Doesn't happen overnight. And that's another reason we don't acquire companies, because when a company comes in, it comes with its own set of values and ethics. You cannot mix oil and water. We are a people-centric company. In fact, this is my most favorite picture of the Zoho brand because it's made of people, its most valuable asset, I would say. And when you look at our workforce, just like I showed you that companies, the average age of companies is going down, here you would notice when you survey the IT field, you will notice that what used to be, I'm here for the long term, is now I'm here for a couple of years before I start off on my own. I am here for a couple of years before I apply for higher education abroad. I am here for a couple of years before I move to Bangalore and look for an opportunity there. Couple of years seems to be a long term for them. But if you survey the managers in Zoho, you will notice that among the 40, 50 products that we have, most of those managers have been there since the beginning. When the first line of code or the first bit of design was done for that product, these people were there. And today, the 10th or the 15th iteration of that product with so many technology changes and so many economic landscape changes, they're still there. And that speaks in the way the product is designed. It is not a fly-by-night affair. It is not something that's, I have finished it, I have moved on. People stick on. Imagine being the manager of a product like Zoho Mail or Zoho Projects for 15 years. For 15 long years, all you have been doing is, how can I improve this particular product? How can I keep it abreast with other technologies and other new products that are coming in the landscape? How can I ensure that it's deeply integrated well enough with all the other products that have been coming? How can I ensure its security is bulletproof? That's the obsession. That's the difference between a hunter and a gatherer. The hunter just wants to conquer territory and move on, like Genghis Khan or Alexander the Great. The gatherer wants to dig deep, wants to lay a foundation on top of which the next generation can actually build something even better. We're an artistic company. In fact, some of our products have hand-drawn art like this. Zoho Notebook is one of our products. And this is not done by artists, not professional artists. They are hobbyists, people in our company who have art as a hobby. In fact, they have even entered our apps, zoho.com/arts. You can take a look at it. Why did I actually highlight this? I want to convey the situation, the sense that we don't try to force fit you into a role that we want you to fill. Instead, we provide enough elbow room and flexibility. You come in with a core set of skills. You are expected to deliver those. But beyond that, if you have another skill, I didn't ask for it, but you have it, we try to find ways that you can use that skill in meaningful, productive ways, furthering the company's brand value. Just because you're a programmer doesn't mean you can't draw. Just because you're a programmer doesn't mean you shouldn't draw. Creative outflow in whatever kind, at whatever time, in whatever situation is the name of the game. We're a technology company. We're not a software company. We actually go further below the software. We manage even the data centers that we have around the world is managed by our own software. We go down the stack, so to speak. And that's the same approach we bring to technology and software. It's a broad suite of business apps. And all of these technologies that I talked about, they are built, every product is built on the same technology stack. It's not as if one runs on Java, the other runs on Ruby on Rails because we acquired it last year. And that was an interesting idea. We were wanting to build it. We didn't have the time. You must have heard of this news. Zoom was suffering very recently until a couple of weeks ago. It was suffering because of a security leak. People were Zoom bombing. People could randomly come in and come into your video conference even without an invite. So what did Zoom do? Yes, it could have decided to do the long game and say, we will fix the security bug ourselves, we will expand our team, we will put our heads into the problem and fix it. The shorter, easier in the short term, but harder in the long term thing, which Zoom ended up doing, was it acquired a security company. The security company, do you think they use the same technology? Do you think they spoke the same language? Were they from the same country? Was the culture the same? But overnight, Zoom acquired that company. It was more a publicity marketing play. Oh, Zoom had a technology problem in security and it bought a security company. And I think the problem is solved now. From the outside, on the surface, yes, the problem will sound like it's fixed. But do you think inside everything is harmonious and peaceful? Not at all so. There will be a lot of friction. This technology won't talk well with that other technology. This will grow at a faster pace than that other one. People will leave. How are you going to maintain all that? We decided that when we build our technology stack, it will be harmonious, it will be integrated, it will be from within, not an acquisition from outside. That's why we call it the operating system for business. If you look at the value, we make a lot of good design and they are baked into our services, all the 50 products that I talked to you about. These services are actually a foundation for the relationships that we actually build with our customers. And the end point of it all, why are we doing all this? It's because we want to gain trust, because trust is probably the hardest commodity to get today. You can't, that's the only thing you can't buy, building trust. We're also an education company. Around 15 years ago, when we were trying to recruit for our software teams, we realized that we weren't getting talented employees from colleges. Most of the colleges were young. Most of the colleges didn't know that computer science is different from software engineering. Some of the faculty weren't well trained in developing software. And there was this huge academia industry gap. What we wanted and what they brought was such a large gap. So we actually started Zoho University in the year 2005. We now call it Zoho Schools of Learning. No exams in 2 locations in Chennai and Tenkasi. In 4 specializations, we have a school of business, a school of design, a school of technology, and a school for advanced study. We've been running this for 15 years. Around 850 of them have passed out. We attract students right out of class 12. We call this a meaningful alternative to conventional college education. People can join us right out of class 12 or a diploma. 850 members have joined us till now, and they have all become employees in the organization. Which means what? In a 9,000 people organization, 1 in 10 of our employees haven't been inside a college, haven't seen the inside of a college campus. So including my own son, that's how we have actually built this Zoho University system inside our company. It's a construction company too, because we realize that workplaces actually shape collaboration. We think we shape our tools, we think we make our tools, but actually the tools themselves are making us think in their way. So we think that office spaces should actually enhance the culture of a company. And this is a photograph from our US office. You can't spot where the CEO sits. There is no CEO corner cabin. It's fun, it's openness, it's collaboration, and there is a lot of transparency. And when you build an office like this, you will realize that it becomes part of the culture. From one, it leaks into the other. That's how we are actually building our next workplace. That's the same with digital workplaces too. Because software shapes the culture. We have been talking about culture so many times, and culture will in turn shape the software. It's also a philosophical company. Most of the philosophies that we hold dear, they're actually born out of convictions. An idea comes, we all seem to align ourselves with that idea. It becomes a deep-rooted conviction. We would rather die not than change it. That's a conviction. And here are a couple of convictions. I'll share some with you, because thoughts become opinions, and those opinions, they actually become convictions. One of them, this is our CEO. His name is Sridhar Vembu. One of them is, who said you need to be in Silicon Valley to build world-class products? Zoho was born around 25 years ago when our CEO was in the US trying to shop around for a t-shirt, and he saw made in China, made in Vietnam, made in Pakistan, made in Mexico, not a single made in India. We somehow seemed to be invisible in manufacturing. So what can I do made in India that will be available the world over, that I will be proud to put my name on? That was the small germ of the idea that became Zoho today. He knew software, so he said, we will build software. We will not go the way of a TCS or a Wipro and become a software services company, which doesn't even have its name put on the projects it delivers. It just gets income into the company, foreign exchange into the company. But can we proudly proclaim that this is something that we made? I don't think so. So that is how we started Zoho. Today, we are probably one of the very few companies, if not the only one, that has such a length and breadth and depth of software products that are made in India. We don't need to be in Silicon Valley. A very good internet connection, including a video conferencing system that Zoho itself provides. Zoho has a competitor for Zoom called Zoho Meeting. So that's all you need. You can sit wherever you are. In fact, Sridhar is sitting right there. This is just outside our office in Tenkasi. Imagine being able to run a company, a multinational company, which is competing with the likes of Microsoft and Google and Amazon and Apple, sitting there. We say no to micromanagement. We think it is a criminal sin to assign smart managers to manage smart people. One of them is not needed. That's the way we see it. It is irrelevant. It is criminal to assign managers who will manage smart people. We allow them to chart their own path. Like I even told you when I was talking about art, we let them decide what they want to do, and we give them a lot of slack, and that is how creative work gets done. With this kind of work, yeah, factory work can get done. How many hours did you work? Did you do this? What is the quality control measure that you have implemented? All that is fine, but that's not how creative software gets developed around the world. Here is another. Software prices will keep going up, everybody says. But we ask why? Why should it? We're not selling atoms here. We're not making CDs. CDs are getting costlier. No, it's digital bits. Bits can be copied, can be reproduced, can be cloned. For no cost, I can make a copy of another software. So it should actually be going down. If you're putting your software up there in the cloud, 40 million people using it, 41 million people using it, it's not going to cost you 1 rupee more. So can't we convert that benefit, that gain, can't we move that gain to our end user? So we give software at a ridiculously cheap price. People call us crazy. Are you guys crazy? $1 per employee per day. Are you guys crazy? They ask us. That is how we have been able to spread. We're a crazy company, I will agree. So it's bootstrapped, it's private, it's long-term, it's unicorn, it's culture-centric, it's people-centric, it's an artistic company, embracing technology, providing meaningful education. It even constructs its own offices. We are having deep-rooted philosophies coming from convictions. We're a crazy company and a unique company. You don't see these every day. That's a purple cow company. So having given a very quick run through of what our company is, we invite you to apply to become a member of our family. And things are harder now. We are not recruiting right away. But if you are good enough, our doors are open enough. Let that be an idea you embed in your mind. Meanwhile, I want to finish today's talk with some thoughts that I have been having, that I've been wanting to share with both faculty and students of the second year, first year, or final year students about what exactly can we do to prepare ourselves for the coming years, how to find purpose, how to find long-term bliss in whatever we do. I'll start with what Jeff Bezos said recently in an interview when people kept asking him, everything is changing. Tell us what's going to change and how are you going to handle all this change? And Jeff Bezos turned the question around and said, let's focus on what's not going to change. I really loved it. I use it in almost every talk these days. And it seems he said, hey, stop talking about what's going to change. Instead, let's look at what's not going to change. Here are 3 things that won't change in my company. People will continue to look for lower prices in Amazon. People will continue to look for wider variety to pick from. People will continue to look for faster deliveries. Whatever happens, COVID, no COVID, World War III, whatever happens, these 3 things won't change. So if I align my company, its processes, its employees, its partner network, if I align what I do with these 3 things, I think I'm safe. That is the way he put it. So yes, that is another way you can actually look at planning for your future. Everything around you seems to be changing. Take pause, look inwards. Think about what won't change, irrespective of all these changes happening around you. Think about what won't change. Probably that is a very good starting point. This is the book I strongly recommend. In fact, in these times, this is much more relevant than at any other time because this book is about achieving happiness. How to Achieve Happiness by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. This man, he wrote it in the 60s, but he has written revised versions of it and they seem timeless. It's a classic. He talks about 9 things to look for, 9 little things to look for when you're choosing a course to pursue, a degree to hold, a career to embrace. Whatever you want, look for these 9 things, he says. The first thing he says is look for a challenge skills balance. There should always be a balance between what you can do and what you're asked to do. If you can do so much more than what you're asked to do, you're going to be bored to death. You will be disengaged and you'll not find happiness there. You see that often in computer science classes, when you're teaching Hello World to the student, the guy already has an account in GitHub, has already been hacking computers since class 10. He'll be bored. Probably he knows more programming than you. So he'll be disengaged. The opposite is true too. When you are challenged completely, you're witless. When your skills are so poor and your challenge is too much, how can I climb Mount Everest? I haven't even climbed to the first floor of this building. Again, you are discouraged, you are disengaged. So whatever you choose to do, have a challenge and skills balance. That's one of the first things to have in mind when you're starting your pursuit of education, of a career, of a life. The second is an action awareness merging. When you are doing something, you actually do not even have a sensation that you're doing it. It's almost like somebody else is doing it and you're watching. That's the action and awareness merging. If you ask a violinist who is playing violin in a state of bliss, if you ask Dhoni, who has just finished hitting a match-winning sixer, very often in their interviews, they will say, I didn't think, it just happened. I almost saw myself hitting that shot. It's a disengagement from your own self. It's a meditative state. Look for what activity gives you that meditative state. For some, it is reading. For some, it is embroidery. For some, it is programming. For some, it is probably just speaking to an audience. You can try to find out what that is. And if you can align your career, if you can align your vocation with that, you're going to get bliss. The third is getting clear goals. Very often we forget that there is this thing called the long-term goal. What do I want to achieve in life? And there is the short-term goal. What do I want to do today? We make both kinds of mistakes. There are some of us who obsess about, let me get through today. These are the things I need to do today. And we forget the long-term goal. And the other is also true. There are people who focus on the long-term goal and forget about what to do today so that we move towards that long-term goal. So having clear goals, on the one hand, the long-term, and on the other, the short-term day-to-day, that lets you achieve those long-term goals. These two are very, very important. The fourth is unambiguous feedback. If you're playing a game, for example, you are told you're injured. The thing vibrates when a bullet hits you, the thing vibrates. The screen becomes red if you start bleeding. This kind of feedback, unfortunately, our academic institutions don't give. They only tell you once a semester how you're doing. Unfortunately, companies don't do. They only tell you once a year how you're doing. That is very, very poor quality feedback. You spend a whole year doing something, and then at the end of the year, they come and tell you, oh, in January you did this, you didn't do that well enough. In September you did this, you didn't do that well enough. You're not going to be learning anything from it. So look for a system or create your own system. Meet your colleagues, meet your parents, meet your teachers, meet your superiors in your company, and somehow try to form a system that will give you unambiguous feedback frequently. Concentration on the task at hand. This is the flow state that the author talks about. I am sure every one of you has had this while doing at least one task or the other. When you do that task, time is forgotten. Hunger is forgotten. Sleep is forgotten. People mocking at you is forgotten. People calling you for something else, you ignore. The passage of time you ignore. You become so engrossed in the task. So try to identify at least one or two things in your life that moves you to such a state of flow, and try to create your career, try to create your vocation around that. Secret solution for bliss. Have a sense of control always. When people ask why you took civil engineering, very, very rarely do we hear, I want to build the next Statue of Liberty. I want to build a single pillar cantilever cathedral. Very rarely you hear that. Most of them say, they said this is the lucrative course now. They said there is scope for this course the next 5-10 years. My uncle is an engineer and he told me to. Very often, it's very clear that you don't have any control. You don't have a sense of agency. You are not the decider. You are not the creator of your destiny. Very clearly, your words say that. Next time when you're faced with a dilemma, yes, take input from everybody else, but you decide. Because you may be helped by them, you may thank them, but 4 years later, 5 years later, you will regret having taken their advice. You will blame them for not letting you do what you wanted to do. So whenever you take decisions, remember the sense of control is going to play a very important role. Again, the loss of self-consciousness, it is not you. The sense of ego is lost. And the transformation of time, you feel that you have been working on it for only 5 minutes, and they say you were away for 2 hours. You were locked up in your room for 2 hours. What were you doing? Oh no, I thought it was just 5 minutes, they will say. That is because the passage of time transforms when you're in a state of flow. So if you're looking at what course do I pursue, what career do I choose, don't look for the one that gives you maximum salary. That is silly. Look for the one that gives you these qualities. In fact, this is the last one, my most favorite. They call it the autotelic experience. Autotelic is basically something where the destination is not the joy giver. The journey is the joy giver. The journey, the path you take is the one that's actually the one that gives you all the happiness and all the pleasure. It's not the pot at the end of the rainbow. It is the rainbow itself. So whatever career you choose, whatever path you take, the path is the most important thing. Many people forget it. Many people say, if I somehow grit my teeth, if I somehow struggle through this job, rest of the time I'll be happy with my family. A very wrong approach to take. When you choose your career, when you choose your courses, look for this autotelic experience. And when I talk about this kind of advice, I clearly realize I come from the Generation X. Generation X is the 70s and the 80s born kids in the 1970s who used to do film development like this. We used to shoot photographs, and then after 36 of them that has been spent after probably a week or a month, one after the other, everything holed up inside, no idea how they have developed. We will go and develop those photographs and then see which ones have come out well and then print them. Today is Generation Z. You see instant feedback. You immediately know what you have to adjust. This was Generation X when we started programming. This is the famous Fortran data card. You have to cut your programming sentences, programming phrases, expressions into holes like that, and you will submit a stack. When you submit a stack, tomorrow you will get debugging results. They will say 14th line error. That was how my professor programmed first in the Fortran programming language. Today, you have an IDE. This IDE tells you everything there is to know. It color codes. If there is an error, it shows you in red. If there is an image to be drag and dropped, it will tell you right away, that's the image you're dragging and dropping. You can watch the values for variable. You can look at CPU levels, how much memory is being used. You're given instant feedback. When the Generation Xers give you career advice, they will say, this is the path you have to take. It's a long and bumpy road. That's what you need to prepare against. There are going to be bumps, but that is the destination and this is the path. The path will be hard, but at the end, you're going to be really happy. The Generation Z guy, he says, can I do this? Can I do that? I would like to try this. I want to do 2 jobs. Can I run a gig? Can I drive Uber at night? Can I deliver Swiggy also? Can I hack on Fiverr.com? I know how to program. Can I take a side job? That is the mentality. Why? Companies do not give instant feedback. He wants instant feedback. He wants to know whether he is doing well. So he is looking for opportunities simultaneously. This is what people used to want. The 3 R's, they called it. Reading. Do you know how to read? Do you know how to write? Do you know arithmetic? They called it the famous 3 R's. On the other hand, the focus today in colleges have to be, the focus today in companies has already started changing into a new set of 3 R's. Today it's about rigor. Whatever you do, how deeply have you understood it? What kind of discipline have you brought into it? Did you prepare so that you could pass an exam? Or did you prepare so that you could build a career on top of it? That rigor is very, very important. Whatever they do, whatever a student does, if you can somehow teach them that rigor is an important quality to weave into it, they are going to be benefited by the education you give them. The second R is relevance. What are you teaching them? Will it be relevant when these students step out of your college into the world out there? What are you going to change in your teaching methodology because of COVID? What are going to change because of the rampant digitalization that's going to happen in the next couple of years? Have you made any effort at all to change the curriculum, change the methodology, change the pedagogy? Time to think about relevance. Because this context, that is what is missing in most educational institutions. We continue to use age-old books, age-old methodologies, and we continue to complain that students are not engaging enough. Their attention span is going down. They want instant feedback. Can you teach them how to learn by themselves? Can you teach them everything that you teach them? Can you bring relevance and context into it? When you do that, they will have a fruitful career ahead of them. The third R is relationships. How are you going to tell them that cooperating and collaborating with people is going to be so important? Today, the hunt for vaccines is so unusual. It's a hunt like no other in the history of vaccinations, because all along people have been competing. Which country, which laboratory, which scientist will bring out the vaccine first? Today, they are sharing data. It's so transparent because it's a fight for humanity. It's a fight against a common enemy, and people are collaborating. Do your students know how to collaborate? Do you bring that into your curriculum? Do you award marks for cooperating and collaborating? Teamwork, do you award marks for that? Is there a course that teaches them how to work well with another person who has complementary strengths? That is going to be important. So rigor, relevance, and relationships. It's about who you know and how you can bank on them at the right time for the right benefits. I'll stop here. Thanks a lot. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Rajendran. Professor Samuel, over to you, Professor Samuel.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And especially I want to, thank Mr. Sridharan sir, as well as Mr. Sudarshan, and also Mr. Karthik for arranging such an excellent seminar. I was going through little bit about Mr. Rajendran. And the most interesting thing was that, they have the Zoho University very close to my hometown. My hometown is Sivakasi. And this is Tenkasi, about 50 kilometers. I was very curious to see what they were doing. And then I started reading and reading and reading. I could understand little, but I could hear so much from the horse's mouth. Mr. Rajendran is a TEDx speaker. You have witnessed for yourself that how excellent presentation that he has given to us. And he started with the relevance. The subject may look like different, but he started with the present situation. What is happening? The whole world is locked down. Why it is locked down? What's the reason? I was reading one story written by very famous person. I don't want to name. What is written there? A master, a landlord, a rich man. He was very famous person. He made a smart city. Made so many apartments, so many houses. But the condition was that nobody could own that. He was the only owner, but others could rent that in a very reasonable rent. So he made the security system, he kept the cleaners, he kept a health system, doctors, he made a barber shop, electricians, electrical system, so many lifts as lift operator, mechanics, maids, assistants, manager, many offices, grocery stores, drivers, and all the communication system. But, human has the tendency, the problem with the coexistence. They could not adjust with the security guards. They were threatening them. They were throwing them out. They could not adjust with the maids, cleaners. So as a result, what has happened? One by one started leaving. And they could not appoint anybody. Now you could imagine the system has completely collapsed. The problem remains the same. We are not able to coexist with the nature. We are not able to coexist with the water, the river system, the animals, the sea, and the environment. We know that how much the air can take, the pollution. And we are the very much reason for the increase of the petrol price or diesel price. We blame the government. We don't know how to save the cars. We don't know how to save with the environment and other systems. But all of a sudden we are spoiled and we blame the COVID. We blame the coronavirus. But my dear friends, I want to tell that the coronavirus has done so many good things also. It has bring the discipline. It has taught us hygiene. It has taught us so many things, how to coexist with others. And these sort of pandemics are not new to this world. In many occasions, I said that in 1918 to 20, there was a flu pandemic. The record says that about 5 crore people died. And 10 times people were infected or affected. But still we have not learned. Afterwards, there are so many epidemics. Still we have not learned. There are so many endemics. Some area is completely full of diseases. But still we have not learned. We are not prepared with the vaccine. We are not prepared with the drugs. And even the microorganisms, most of the bacteria are becoming resistant to this drug. If there is a next pandemic, it is going to be antimicrobial resistance, which will cause the major pandemics. And unfortunately, the pharma companies, they are looking only after the profit, return of the investment. They don't want to invest. They don't get support from the government. Even the World Health Organization, it sleeps for a long time. I don't understand what the World Health Organization is doing these days. Most of the time, it doesn't give the advice at the right time. And these days, it is more strange. They make statements which would make the people to be scared, which is not right. And instead of giving the positive note, we are making others to be scared. Let us look at the positive side. Always men should live with a positive note. Yes, vaccines are in development. More than 10 vaccines are coming up. And I'm so glad to inform you that our own group, SRM University, Katangalathur campus, yes, we are very much part of this vaccine trial. ICMR, National Institute of Virology, and Bharat Biotech, they started the venture. They selected 12 centers. And one of the first center is our own SRM, Katangalathur. So we should be very proud of it. We should be happy about that. Yes, soon we will be able to create the herd immunity. There are 2 ways to create the herd immunity. First place is the nature itself creates a herd immunity. How? Many people are affected. Many people are infected, but they become asymptomatic. Yes, they also have the antibodies, which creates the herd immunity. Herd immunity is that there is a population, they are infected, they are affected, but there is another population, they become infected, but they are asymptomatic. And there is a third population. So they are safe because of the population in between, because they have the antibodies. So the disease cannot spread from one place to another place because they stop, they block it. Either the nature can block it through the infection by asymptomatic system, or the vaccine can cause the herd immunity. Just imagine to give the vaccine dose for 139 crore of people in India at single dose. It is impossible. Nobody can make it. Now the vaccine is needed for the whole world. So it will take time, but definitely it is possible. You know, we must thank God or thank nature or whatever you consider it. You know, the technology is there. And as Mr. Rajendran said, yes, this is the first time there is a teamwork. One team is working with other team. One country is working with other country. Again, I want to make one statement over here. Our own SIMS hospital. Yes, we have made a MOU with one of the company in US for the clinical trial of the drug. And our university in Delhi NCR, SRM University Delhi NCR Sonipat is also collaborating with a company in USA as well as SIMS hospital. Yes, teamwork pays. You know, this is what Mr. Rajendran is pointing out. Now, without taking much time, I just want to tell my dear audience, if you have any questions, please put forward. There is a chat box. Use the chat box for writing the questions. Let us not, you know, unmute the mic and ask the question, but please use the chat box. I will take your question and then I will ask these questions to Mr. Rajendran, though he has given excellent talk, but still I know that one, you have very basic questions, or you want to ask about the Zoho University, or you have any questions, please feel free to ask, but write it in the chat box. I will pick up your question, or Mr. Rajendran himself will pick up your question, and then he will be free to answer your question.
Has come. Why do most of the companies not survive for a long time? Is that the new companies offer assurance with best economic solution, or is it a software trend itself? Large number of companies do not stand for a long time. So even look at temples. There is a Khajuraho temple or a temple in Rajaraja Cholan built temple in South India. 3,000 years, 5,000 years. Look at the pyramids. But tell me something that was built in the past 100 years that you think will stand the test of time, will stand forever? I think the whole culture of waiting itself is changing. We want fast food. We don't want slow food. We want supplements in small packages. We don't want to eat the vegetable properly so that it will automatically slowly get into our body. I think the greatest blessing of COVID was it asked us to take the foot off the accelerator. Slow down, evaluate around yourself what is more important. That question to ask ourselves, it gave us that time. That's what I would thank it for. So is it wrong to be short term? Is it wrong to not think long term? I'm not an expert in that. But I can say this, it is always better to do that thing that nobody else is doing. When everybody around you is doing something and ignoring something else, there is a lot of value in picking that something else and looking for what can we do in that sphere, that domain. That's how I would look at building something for the long term. Very few people seem to be interested in that. So I want to know, what was it that man, that Rajaraja Cholan king had in mind when he constructed that stone temple? Why would he want to build something that will outlast 10 generations beyond his time? What was going in his mind? I asked that question and I'm looking for answers. So it is just a mindset aspect. It's not right or wrong. It's better to be doing something different, because in this world where we are flooded with advertising, I showed you that picture, 5,000 companies. How are you going to stand out? By doing something different. This is one way to do something different.
There is a question about, what is the basic mantra for sustainability in this situation?
Yes, the last one, mantra for sustainability in this situation. So look at what Zoho did. It had money on the table. People were offering us money, but we didn't immediately build a skyscraper building in Silicon Valley and spend all that money and live based on what we were making. That is something that many people do. I make this much money, so let me spend this percentage of it anyway. On the other hand, we decided to live within our means. We decided to have they call it zero footprint, carbon footprint. So without causing any damage to what's around you, to the environment around you, to the people around you, what benefit you can give them. That is this consumer versus creator balance always. Are you consuming from the world around you, from the people around you, from the resources around you, or net are you giving something out? Are you creating? That is the GDP. That is the indicator of the GDP. Are you consuming more? If you're an academic institution, how do you weigh the fees that you gather and the education that you impart? Are you giving more or are you taking more? That is the answer to sustainability. Because if you're giving more, you will be sustainable. If you're taking more, people are going to someday wake up to the cheating you are doing and they will choke you. So if you are an individual or an academic institution or a company or a business or a government, look for that formula. Are you consuming net or are you creating net? That is the mantra for sustainability. What do you consider a roadmap to become Team Purple Cow for students? What do you think academia should do to bridge the gap between academia and industry? So let me also clarify, I am not completely unhappy that there is a gap between academia and industry. A little gap is good because that makes it easy for industry to pick the right kind of candidates. I don't want a candidate to be spoon-fed from LKG all the way to final year of college and then handed over to us for us to continue with those kids. When college stops at the 4th year and there is a gap that the student has to, she or he has to, out of their own intent, make that jump, learn a new technology, attend a new course, acquire a new skill, make new relationships, and make that jump. To make that jump, there has to be a gap. And I am happy because of that. That little gap, that is what is going to tell the difference between the great students and the good students. I want self-initiative. What are you motivated by? If nobody else is there to tell you to do something, will you just be happy doing nothing? I don't want you. What did you invent? What did you create? What did you decide to do? All by yourself. I am looking for that person. Our society has approved and acknowledged more of rational minds than intuitive mind. What would be your solution to bring it back to intuitive alertness rather than focused control? This is too heavy a question for me to answer. There are a lot of academicians here. There are a lot of thinkers out there on the internet. I think this is an existential question. The only thing I would like to point out here is, do not make the mistake of thinking in extremes. Don't say everything that we are doing now is bad. Let us swing back to the other extreme, assuming that is good. There is a lot of good in the bad things. There are a lot of bad in the good things. Approach it in the middle path always. That is what I would like to warn you about. And then I will leave it to you to find out your own way. What is success according to you? Is there anything called success? The only success that I would encourage you to pursue is the quest for interestingness. In everything you do, in every effort you take, is that interesting? Does that challenge you? Does that keep you aware of your surroundings? Can you lose sight of the end goal and enjoy the steps you take? Does the system that you are in allow you to do that? That is success. Can you please tell about Zoho University? We do not take fees. We do not mark attendance. We do not conduct exams. We pay stipend. It's an 18-month program. We give training in English, mathematics, programming, software engineering, and design. And now we recently launched a school of business. We take students below the age of 20. And the only criterion is you should not be a graduate. You can only have finished class 12 and probably a diploma, no college degree. So we take students like that. Every year around 150 students join us in Chennai and in Tenkasi, and we give them a contextual, relevant, experiential environment to learn as they program, as they come up with the designs, as they come up with campaigns. They work with us inside our company. They are taught by employees in the organization who are practicing professionals, who are not professors. They are practicing professionals. And along the way, they learn on the job and they get embedded into teams after a year. And then another year in the team, they become full-blown professional employees in the company. So 2 years after class 12, you're already an employee. Compare that with typical colleges, which take 4 years. And then you are at the crossroads deciding what to do, which company will give you an offer. What are the courses taught in Zoho University? We call it Zoho Schools of Learning. You can visit www.zohoschools.com for more information. We teach School of Business, School of Design, School of Technology, and School for Advanced Study. So take a look at the website. Zoho focus on innovation, patents. Patents is not our focus. Again, patent is the end goal. Innovation is the journey. Of course, we are trying to innovate. We are trying to create our own map service. We are trying to create our own programming language. We are trying to create our own voice to text recognizing engine. Because all of these, when they are stuck to a single company like Apple, like Google, very soon they are going to be priced very heavily. You think Google Maps is free? No, it is sucking your data. 54 data points about you is being sucked in every time you use Google Maps when you are on the road, and it's being stored in the cloud. They have profiled you already, what kind of person you are, how fast you drive. All the data is taken. You weren't even asked permission. You just clicked I agree someday, and that data is being taken. That data is sacred. So at Zoho, we are trying to find out if we can innovate without stealing your data. That's one of our challenges. Faculty recruitment for Zoho schools. What is the requirement to be a faculty at Zoho University? You must have had some real life experience. If you are applying to the School of Business, you can't just come with an MBA and a doctorate. You must have managed a marketing campaign or been a senior marketer in some company, probably in high technology field for some time at least. In fact, I'll let you know a secret also. This is another thing that I look for. You must have failed in something. You must have failed miserably and learned something that's a lifelong lesson for yourself. I really love people like that. I want those people because no book can teach what a person who has failed and succeeded after that failure can teach us. So we are looking for people like that. According to you, what's a powerful software or tools in the current scenario? In the current scenario, anything that allows you to overcome the physical separation. So be it a digital video conferencing tool like this, or a remote presentation tool, or a communication tool using which you can email or chat with a colleague or share documents in the cloud without worrying about where that person is, will that person have the right hardware for it, etc. is a great set of tools in this current scenario. I think I missed a few questions up there. I will scroll up and quickly look at them. What do you consider a roadmap to become Team Purple? I answered that. History repeats itself. Can we say that the companies which keep their promises live long? Yes, I agree. So make small promises and over deliver. Go beyond your promise. They call it customer delight. If you can find ways, there is a beautiful phrase that I recently saw. They call it the long wow. The long wow is something, the wow is what a company delivers to a customer at the first point of contact. Probably you saw the ad and you really liked it. Probably you saw the company CEO talk something and you really liked it. Probably you made a purchase, you bought the box and you really liked it. But that's just the first wow. The long wow is how are you planning for micro wows all along the customer lifetime? If the person has an iPhone and the iPhone is going to be with that person for the next 5 years, will the person continue to be wowed by it every year along the way? Will he or she discover new things to do with it? Will they become more friendly to that device, trustworthy to that device along the way? That is planning the long wow. And that is something I learned is what differentiates the good companies from the great companies. As a recruiter,
there is a question about, WTO collapsing. Any comments on it?
It didn't collapse. What I think they are talking about is across the world, when the economy is hit, there is going to be this globalization pushback. Nobody is going to say, yes, we will let China build all our ventilators when China is the source of the virus itself. We will want that Atmanirbhar Bharat. We will want to create something ourselves. In case emergency comes, we will be able to block our borders and still be able to be productive for our population. So I think the time has come for us to push back on globalization. Enough is enough. Let there not be centers of excellence. For this, I need to go only there. For this other product, I need to go only to that country. Probably that will be pushed back. In fact, that's happening for India. I don't want your employees, says Dubai, oil will employees. I don't want your software engineers. America will start saying, what are you going to say? I don't want your what. That's going to be important. Then as recruiter, other than edu qualities, do you expect from the candidates? Principal, okay. So what qualities do you expect from candidates? I think most of the things can be taught. Most skills can be taught. So attitude is going to be so much more important. The attitude to collaborate with others. The attitude for the long game. I am not here for short benefit. I am here for the long game. And people who are looking not just for money, but people who are looking for learning opportunities, people who are looking for responsibility, people, imagine you all used Google. Even today, 20 years after Google was born, the Google homepage has not changed. There is a logo, there is a box, and there is some small text below it. If anybody wants to add a single link to that Google homepage interface, it seems you have to go all the way to the CEO and get permission. That's how hard it is. Imagine the person who designed that interface. It might have been just a newcomer designer. One woman designed it actually. She's now working in Facebook. And imagine the pride that woman has today. 20 years, billions of people visit my website, visit google.com every day, and billion people are shown my design every day. Can that be replaced by any amount of money? Can that be replaced by any amount of anything else? It is pure, unadulterated fame. That is the impact that you can have doing the right thing in the right company. If you can join a company that builds software for common man, for individuals. Look at the guy who built Arogya Setu, for example. That app might not be good. It might have been designed poorly, but look at the fame that person has. The reach. The common man cannot have that reach unless it is magnified by the company he or she works in. So we want to provide a platform like that for you. Are you looking for such a platform? That is what we will see when we interact with you. All right. So our society. What is success? Okay. Zoho University. What are the courses I covered? Skills. Soft skills is a mirage that our students don't get to see in reality. What does Zoho do to get it in real? So first of all, calling it soft skills is wrong. It's actually a hard skill. Most of us seem to be content just learning subject knowledge, memorizing the book and vomiting in the class, getting a degree and rushing into a career. There is a lot of packaging that is involved. I actually like to call it, there is this cake and then there is this icing on the cake. Today, the icing is the cake. Nobody wants your cake because all cakes are the same. That is why I talked about the academia industry gap. What are you going to do to bridge that gap? What self-initiative did you show? That is the icing on the cake. That is the icing which is the cake. So soft skills are more important today than any other time before, I would say. New strategies to motivate the students and keep them engaged in the current scenario. I will recommend a book. The book is called Drive. Daniel Pink is the author of that book. I will probably type it in chat. And what Daniel Pink says is to really motivate people. The name of the book is Drive by Daniel Pink. He gives 3 words, 3 mantras in that book. He says the first thing you need to do is give them a sense of autonomy. Somehow make them feel they made the choice. They decided something that's to be done. Let them not always be driven by what you wanted them to do. I chose to do it. That's the feeling you have to make them get. The second thing after autonomy is a pursuit of mastery. Are they on a path to progress, to become better, to succeed, to make little wins? Every day a little win. Is there a path to progress? Show them that path clearly. Take them along that path carefully. They have to always have a goal a little farther than they can reach. It's very hard to design a system like that. But if you can design it, every day a student comes to class, every year a student comes to a semester, can the student see something clearly ahead of them that they have to reach? That is just beyond their reach. Then you have them hooked. And the third thing is a sense of purpose. After autonomy and mastery, the third is purpose. Why are they doing what they are doing? How is it connected to what they wanted to become? How is it connected to what will actually give them happiness in a long career, in a long life? Make the dotted connection. We spend very little time talking about these meta things, these secondary things, these tertiary things. When you get these tertiary things, the deep inside core will fall in place. That's another book I want to recommend. It's called Start with Why by Simon Sinek. A beautiful book where he says, don't do the what. Don't do the how. What to study, how to study will happen. Why to study? Focus on the why. If you can focus on the why, the outer circles will automatically get resolved. At the core, talk about the core is what he says.
Sir, it seems to be Dr. Ashok Kantru, our Dean of Law at Sonipat. He wants to make some comments. Sir, you want to say something or you want to ask a question?
No, there is no question. All is well addressed and it was very useful exercise rather from all the sides, and the talk was wonderful and path-breaking. And really, we don't need WTO. People talked about globalization, global world, but it never was. It was trying to globalize, but it's not practical because we have to protect our identities. That includes cultural, educational, economic, social, and everything. Globalization can happen on internet only. It can happen through culture, but now COVID stops it. allows us to interact through internet. So future belongs to the virtual world. And we need to explore the pathways that have been suggested. Like here's a virtual university, UGC already, and UGC is now talking about virtual universities. And hats off to you people, you guys, sir. Zoho University.
Thank you.
So but I would like to suggest a couple of things. First is that user interface design. We need to focus a lot on it because there are very few user interface designers. Even in Silicon Valley, you talked about that Google page. And number one, and number two, communication. Communication is the key. User interface design and communication, and that is how we can reach to everybody in nook and cranny. Then, of course, the technologies, we need to broaden our reach and create very huge highways, these virtual highways, brand width, so that everybody gets access to whatever is desired. Thank you very much, sir. This was just that came out of me, and very nice to hear, and your team, and very thankful, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will take another 5 minutes. And there is one Dr. Krishnan. You want to say something? Dr. Krishnan also seems to be raising his hands. You can unmute yourself and then you can ask. Okay. Sir, you want to take 1 or 2 more questions and then we will, end up this session afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. So, whenever we start anything new, any startup, what are the essential things or resources that we will need to make it a success? So I already told you Zoho for startups, it's a great initiative that we have been having for the past couple of years. So for the software needs and how to manage manage a startup, we have a certain package that you can visit our website and find out more about. But the first thing is, for a startup, you need to have that disproportionate impact idea. So it's a one-man idea, but you can't have impact on one man. You need to have impact on 1,000 men or 1,000,000 men. Come up with the idea. That's the most important thing. Do not think about a startup if what you're planning is a service. A service grows linearly. You have 3 people to deliver Swiggy food, then you can deliver to 3 households. You have 4 people, you can deliver to 4 households. That is linear. Can you come up with software that companies like Swiggy can use to deliver to an exponentially large number of people? That is the key factor you need to look for whenever you're looking for an idea. The second thing that many people do not really give importance to, which is very, very important, is your partner, is your co-founder. Finding the right person, working with them. Do not find mirror images. You don't want a clone of yourself working with you. That's a very poor decision to make. Look for complementary skills. Somebody who working with you can actually produce a wholesome output. What you can't do by yourself, what they can't do by themselves, together you'll be able to work magic. Some of the best startups in the world did like that. The Hewlett-Packard, how did they come together? Sergey Brin and Larry Page, how did they come together and do something amazing? That's what you need to look for. I will again pause mute on. Yeah. Okay. And whenever we start, what is the secret to success? Many people are asking this. There is a Japanese proverb, which I hold very dear. Failure is not going down, failure is staying down. So this Japanese proverb says, what is success? Success is falling down 7 times, standing up 8. That is success. So do not try to avoid failure in your quest for success. Embrace failure. Realize that failures are the stepping stones. You need to go through them. That is when you deserve success. And there is a difference between achieving success and deserving success. There are so many people out there who deserve success who don't make it. Achieving success, the world gives you. Deserving success, you give yourself. So many more people can be happy if they aim for deserving success than achieving success. Achieving success is dependent on politics, dependent on market conditions, dependent on COVID. But deserving success, where you tell your own conscience, I have really put in amazing effort. Not a single thing that I could have done, I didn't do. That makes me to deserve success. That's when you realize, okay, you can sleep well tonight. I mentioned some books. You can contact me over email, perhaps. I can send you some more. And I think we can stop with this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rajendran. I just want to ask you one question before we end up this session. You know, you were talking about Zoho is a people-centric company. I just want to ask you that, do you have any role for the students? Like, like our students, they go through 2 months intensive, or in the end of the semester, sorry, end of their studies, they go for 6 months, intensive. So do you have any such plans for the students, who can be trained or who can get such a vision in their life?
So we have been having sessions where during the last semester, students come and spend as an intern, work with us for 6 months. They do small to medium-sized projects. They work closely with the teams. But today the company is in lockdown and all of us are working from our own homes. In fact, I am doing this call from my home. The CEO is in a village near Tenkasi where he is doing his work, and we're all completely decentralized. And like I told you in one of my slides, we do not believe in management, micromanagement. So micromanagement is sometimes necessary if you want to take students who are here for a short time. So we want to handpick students who are interested in a career with Zoho, not just a project completion certificate at Zoho. First of all, that's an important filter. The second is, I don't know when this COVID shadow is going to be lifted, when people can start moving about again. So the first thing we will do is open the office for 10% employees, then 25% employees, then probably Zoho schools of learning. The students from Zoho University can start coming in. But before risking the health of your students, spending time at our company, it will be quite a long time. So I think probably this year, we're not going to be able to provide internship. Some companies are talking about remote digital internship. So that is something that we might consider. But right now, everything is up for grabs. We do not have too much clarity on how this is going to pan out. We have enough employees in Bay who are doing all the work that we are doing. In fact, we repositioned our focus from some of our other products, and we have decided to focus on video conferencing, remote network management, and those kind of tools, because that's the need of the hour. So the short answer to your question is, we have been doing it already. We don't know when we can resume it. We don't know what we are going to change it into. That's the short.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your excellent presentation. And I want to convey my sincere thanks to all my colleagues and the students, those who joined. And if anyone has any question, please, we will make sure that one, Mr. Rajendran's email is available. You can contact him later. But for the time being, let us end up this session and over to Mr. Sridharan, sir.
Thank you, Professor Samuel. Thank you, Mr. Rajendran. It was a very, very, insightful and, informative and a very, very comprehensive kind of a session the participants would have today. Because your presentation and speech mostly covered almost all the aspects of, starting from, conceiving an idea till the execution, till the success of any business, entity would want to be. And it was a very, very, what do you call it, as an informative and thought-provoking session the participants would have. And I look forward to your continued support in all our future initiatives as well. And so I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants who participated from the various campuses of SRM University. And I would like to thank Professor Samuel also for moderating this particular session. Thank you once again, and thank you, Dr. Rajendran, Mr. Rajendran, and If there are any further queries, we will ask them to reach out to you directly. You have also shared your email ID and mobile numbers. Thank you once again for this wonderful, informative and insightful session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.